So, what happens when the sharpest mind in the room runs into a problem that pure intellect can't solve? We're about to jump into a fantastic story about genius, failure, and the kind of wisdom you can only find when you stop looking for answers and start listening to the silence.
It's a really fascinating question to think about, isn't it? Can the very thing that makes you great, your incredible mind, actually become a blindfold? Can it stop you from seeing what's right in front of you? Well, that's the big idea we're going to unpack together.
All right, let's meet our main character, Kareem. Now, this guy isn't just a good apprentice, he's a prodigy. And in his world, everything, and I mean everything, is just a puzzle waiting for him to crack it with his logic. He's convinced he's got the master key to any problem.
And this right here, this lays out the central conflict perfectly. On one side, you have Kareem's path. It's all about logic, decoding, and this relentless need to know the answer. But then you have his master's way, which is about feeling, observing, and just being. These aren't just two different methods, they're completely different ways of seeing the world.
So this is where the story really gets going. The master, who totally sees Kareem's intellectual pride, gives him this really unique test. It's not about skill, it's not some complex pattern he has to weave. No, this challenge is designed to completely bypass logic and get right to the heart of Kareem's certainty.
And there it is, the entire test boiled down to 5 simple, kind of maddening words. Now to Kareem, this is just another riddle, another code to crack. You can almost hear him scoffing, right? What could a piece of silk possibly teach me? I'm the one who knows things. I command the loom.
So Kareem tries everything. He's analyzing the fibers, he's calculating thread counts, he's using every single technique in his arsenal, and he just keeps failing, over and over. His frustration is just building and building until he hits a wall. And this is the real turning point. It's that moment where he's forced to stop solving and finally start seeing.
Let's look at how he first attacked this problem, his wrong way. First, he deconstructs the master's words, looking for some kind of hidden meaning. Then he gets obsessed with the silk itself, trying to find a secret pattern. He comes up with what he thinks is the perfect logical plan, totally convinced he can just force the silk to tell him its secrets. It's all about control.
And now, look at the complete 180. After failing miserably, he just gives up. He actually puts his theories and his plans aside. He stops doing, and he just starts watching the loom in total silence. He starts to feel the natural rhythm of the threads, that gentle pull and release. He stops trying to force his will on it, and for the very first time, he just lets the process show him the way. But before he has that big breakthrough, he had to learn a lesson taught by his own hands. The silk he made using all his brilliant analysis, it was a complete disaster. We're talking a tangled, knotted mess, super tight in some spots, hopelessly loose in others. This wasn't just a mistake, it was his intellectual arrogance made real.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? His master could have explained this 100 times, but Kareem, in his pride, would have never really heard it. This was a lesson that had to be felt. It was a kind of wisdom that could only come from the very real, very humbling experience of failure.
So what did he actually learn from that tangled mess of silk? Well, a few huge things. He realized his brilliant mind was just creating a ton of noise, drowning out the simple truth. He learned you can't force the right answer. Real understanding comes from just being present. And maybe most importantly, he learned that failure is a way more direct and honest teacher than success will ever be.
And that brings us to the beautiful end of the story. See, Kareem's redemption, his big win, it doesn't come from finally solving the puzzle. It comes from finally letting it go. He earned this victory not because he was clever, but because he found this profound humility in just being silent and observing.
This just leads us to this timeless piece of wisdom, captured so perfectly right here. The quieter you become, the more you are able to hear. Kareem had to turn down the volume on that relentless noise of his own mind, his own ego, before he could finally hear the simple, elegant lesson the silk was trying to teach him all along.
And this quote, wow, this one just nails the final moral. Kareem's breakthrough wasn't about admitting he was dumb. It was about getting out of his own way. True humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. He stopped being obsessed with his own genius and just started focusing on the work itself.
Okay, so it's a great story, but why should we care about an ancient parable about a silk weaver? Well, let's take that wisdom from the old loom and bring it right into the modern boardroom, because it applies now more than ever.
This breaks it down so well. Think about the master's cryptic clue. Isn't that just like getting a vague vision from an executive? The takeaway is, don't just try to decode the words, try to understand the intent behind them. And the failed silk, that's your project that totally bombed. The lesson there is to embrace that failure as incredibly valuable data. And Kareem's silent observation, that is the perfect antidote to our modern obsession with metrics. It's about making space to actually listen to your team, feel the dynamics, and maybe even trust your gut.
So I'll leave you with this question. Think about your own work, your own life. What's that one unsolvable problem that you just keep throwing more analysis and more data at, hoping something will crack? What do you think might happen if, just for a little while, you stepped back, quieted your mind, and just watched? What is the silk trying to teach you?